Oh, hi. Hello, grade 5. How are you, my students? Okay. This is lecture 2, online lecture 2 in semester 4. So last week we covered lecture 1. Now we are going to cover lecture 2. Okay. In this lecture, we're going to cover two big objectives or two lessons, if you want to say that. The first one is grammar, complex sentences. Okay. Previously, we took the simple and compound sentences and we solved the questions related to these lessons. But now we have to take the third kind of sentence structure, which is called complex sentences. Cover in complex sentences. We're going to recognize a complex sentence to know that when we read this sentence, we are going to directly say that this is a complex sentence. Differentiate between simple, compound, and complex sentences. We are going to differentiate between these three different sentence structures. Why do we call them sentence structures? Because the difference is in the structure of the sentence, how we write the sentence. And you are going to use subordinating conjunctions to use sentences to form complex ones. So there is certain thing called subordinating conjunction. Later we are going to explain it. This subordinating conjunction, we use it to join two sentences together to make complex ones. What do I mean? Stay with me so you will know everything by detail. With First of all, what is a complex sentence or complex sentences? Complex sentences are used to express complex ideas. So when we say complex sentences, we mean the sentences that are used to express complex ideas. How? By showing how ideas and or events are related to each other. When we say complex sentences, we mean we are showing how the ideas and events related to each other. To provide extra information about certain words or phrases. Okay, sometimes you might need to provide extra information about certain words or phrases. Or in other words, we say a complex sentence consists of a main clause and one or more subordinate clauses. So, in brief, I repeat, the complex sentence is used to express ideas, but these ideas are complex. What do we mean by complex? They are related to each other in a certain way. Or when I use a complex sentence, I'm using it to provide extra information about certain topic or certain subject. And what do I find in the complex sentence, or what does the complex sentence consist of? It consists of a main clause and one or more subordinating clause. When you read the word main, when we say main, you know that it's major, it's very important, it's the main point, it's the main one, okay? That we cannot delete it or write a sentence without it. But one or more subordinate clause, the subordinate clause is something that like maybe supports the main clause, okay? So here, the main one that we cannot delete from the sentence is the main clause. And we have other words. We call it in a different way. Later, you're going to know what do we call it. And we have subordinate clause, maybe one or more than one, okay? So in the complex sentence, I find main clause and subordinate clause. I use the complex sentence to show ideas, how they are related to each other, and maybe sometimes to provide extra information about words or phrases. What is a clause? When we have one single idea, one single event, I have one verb, I have one subject, and it might sometimes contain more details. For example, the knight killed the dragon on the high mountain. The knight killed the dragon on the high mountain or on the abundant mountain. So it's still a clause. It has one idea, one subject, one verb, but we just gave extra information about where the dragon was killed. Okay, so I think that it's clear now. You know what is a clause. Now we move to the subordinate and the main clauses. Now in details, I'm going to explain for you what is the subordinate and what is the main clause. Let's take also this example. Here I have a complex sentence. I'm going to tell you that directly. I have a complex sentence. When he killed the dragon, the knight felt strangely sad because it had been a mighty beast. First of all, let's take the one in the middle. The knight felt strangely sad. Ask yourself, does it give a complete thought or a complete idea? Yes, the knight felt strangely sad. He felt something, and I have a subject, the knight, also, and I have a verb felt. It is correct. So it is the here. It's a simple sentence alone. Alone, it's a simple sentence. Okay, and it gives me a complete idea alone. When I read it alone, it gives me a complete idea. But if I take the first one, when he killed the dragon, don't you feel that it misses something? When he killed the dragon. So what happened when he killed the dragon? What's the problem here when he killed the dragon? So this part alone doesn't give you a complete idea, but this part alone gives you a complete idea. Let's take the third one alone also. Because it had been a mighty beast. If I come and tell you because it had been a mighty beast, don't you feel also that there is something wrong here? There is something unknown or something that haven't been explained. So what? Does it give you a complete thought or a complete idea? No, I don't think so. No. So I cannot consider it like alone as a complete sentence. But the one in the middle gives me a complete idea. So this one is what I call main clause. It expresses one idea or event and one complete idea and complete event. Okay? It makes sense on its own. That's what matters. It makes sense on its own. It's very important that when you read it alone by itself, it gives you a complete idea. Okay? It gives you a complete idea. That's the point. That when you read it alone, it gives you a complete idea. It makes sense. It could be a simple sentence. Yes, for sure, it is a simple sentence. When it is alone, it is a simple sentence. It gives me one idea. It has one subject and one complete subject, one complete verb. Okay, and it makes sense on its own. So it is a clause. I call it a main clause. But what about the others? When he killed the dragon alone, I call it a subordinate clause. What do I call it? Subordinate clause. At the end, I will tell you what we call them also. What does the subordinate clause do? Expresses one idea or event. It expresses one idea or event, but it doesn't make sense on its own. So when you read these two parts alone, the blue sentences alone, when he killed the dragon and because it had been a mighty beast, didn't you feel that there's something strange about it? Yes, for sure. It doesn't make sense at all. It needs maybe more information, more detail. Maybe it needs another sentence to make it complete. So it doesn't make sense on its own. So it needs a main clause to complete the sense. What does it need? It needs a main clause to complete the sense. In other words, let me help you. When the sentence alone expresses one idea or event and makes sense on its own, okay, and it's a simple sentence, you call it main clause or independent clause. We call it independent clause. Independent. We call it independent clause. Why independent? Because it alone, it doesn't need something else to express its idea or make sense. So that's why we call it independent. It doesn't depend on others to make a complete sense. It doesn't depend on others to make a complete sense. So alone it makes a sense. So we call it independent clause or main clause, but mainly we use independent clause. But the others, what do I call them? What do I call the others? Subordinate clause or dependent clause. Why dependent? If you notice that dependent is the opposite of independent. Dependent because it depends on others to give it the sense, to make sense, to help it get a complete idea, okay, to help it express the idea clearly without any ambiguity. Okay, so the main clause we call it independent clause because it doesn't depend on something else to complete the idea. But the subordinate clause, I call it dependent because it depends. It depends. You see, dependent. It depends on other sentences to make sense. Okay, I think that now it's clear. Okay. So the main and subordinate clauses go together to make a complex sentence. So did you get the point now? That when the main clause goes with the subordinate clause, but correctly, they have to go together correctly. The main clause goes with the subordinate clause correctly. In a correct way, they make what? A complex sentence. What do they make? A complex sentence. So again, we repeat to make it clearer for you that in the complex sentence I have two parts. I have the main clause and the subordinate clause, or I have the independent clause and the dependent clause. What about the independent clause? If you want to figure out if it's independent, so ask yourself, does it express one idea and makes sense on its own? Yes, it expresses one idea and makes sense on its own, so it is independent. But if it doesn't make sense on its own, so it is dependent. Okay? Or in other words, ask yourself, does this sentence need extra information to explain the sense or the meaning? If no, so it's independent. But if yes, if it needs other information or other sentence, so it is called dependent. Dependent. So there are several sorts of subordinate clauses. There are several sorts of subordinate clauses. Okay, simply we repeat a complex sentence combines both an independent and dependent clause. How? We're going to take now some examples. Let's read these two examples. Although I was tired, if you notice here, I have a comma. Now I'm going to explain it. I studied for the test. I studied for the test, although I was tired. Let me tell you something first. This is alone, although I was tired. And this is alone. I studied for the test. If you notice, I, subject, was verb. Okay, here, I, subject, studied, verb. So I studied for the test is alone, and although I was tired is alone. Okay, what you have to know here. Take although I was tired alone. Although I was tired. Uh-huh. Okay. So you start thinking, what happened? Although I was tired. What's the problem here? I didn't understand it. Haha. You see, you said I didn't understand it. So it needs what? Extra information to explain its sense. So alone, what does it make? Dependent clause. It makes dependent clause. But when I take the other part, I studied for the test. Did you understand it? Yes, the subject studied for the test. Is there anything ambiguous? No, nothing is ambiguous. So here it is independent. It is independent. Okay, and if you notice, what do I have in the dependent clause? There is a word, although. What do I call this word although? I call it subordinating conjunction. Subordinating conjunction. So simply when you want to differentiate between the dependent clause and the independent clause, the part that includes the subordinating conjunction, and we have several subordinating conjunctions in the video, I'm going to cover them. Okay, so again, I repeat, when the part contains a subordinating conjunction, it is the dependent clause. It includes subordinating conjunction and doesn't make sense, so it is the dependent clause. But the independent clause doesn't include any subordinating conjunction and it gives a complete idea. It makes a complete sense, so it is the independent clause. Notice here, I started with the dependent clause. When I finished the dependent clause, what did I add? Comma. Excellent. I added a comma. Let's take the second example. Here, there is an error. What? Here you should not add a comma. And I added for you on purpose to show you that here I should not add a comma. Why? I studied for the test, although I was tired. Notice, what did we start with? It's the same sentence above, but here I switched. I started with the independent clause. So when you start with the independent clause, there is no need to add a comma in the middle. When you start with the independent clause, there is no need to add a comma in the middle. Okay, that's the only difference between the first one and the second one. But both are complex sentences. Both gives the main idea, the same idea. But the first one started with the dependent and I added a comma after the dependent clause. The second one started with the independent clause, which I should not add a comma after the independent clause. We move to the subordinating conjunctions. Subordinating conjunctions. What are the subordinating conjunctions? Many dependent clauses begin with a subordinating conjunctions, and not many. All the dependent clauses start with subordinating conjunction, also known as dependent word. Also, if you don't want to say subordinating conjunction, you want to say dependent word, you can say it, but we use subordinating conjunction more. We do not use dependent word so much, okay? So just stick to subordinating conjunction, okay? Subordinate means secondary. It's not main. So when you say secondary, we don't mean the major or the main one. We mean secondary, second one that comes in at second, okay? So subordinating conjunctions are words that introduce secondary ideas, added ideas, extra ideas. If you remember at the beginning, we said that we sometimes use the complex sentences to provide extra ideas or to provide information, more information that is related to the first idea. So that's why when we have to add these extra ideas, we have to use subordinating conjunctions which express secondary ideas. Examples, these are just examples. They are not the only subordinating conjunctions because, since, when, while, although, even though, together, if, as, whereas, and sometimes we use when, while, okay? So these are examples of subordinating conjunctions. Subordinating conjunctions create a relationship between clauses. You see, they create what? A relationship between clauses. So they must be used properly. What do you mean by they may create a relationship? So when you join the two clauses together, there is a relation between them. For example, here when I say because, I mean there is a reason. Okay, for example, the internet connection was bad because of the bad weather. Okay, so you see, because there is a reason here. Okay, I cannot say, for example, the internet connection was bad because I spilled the popcorn on the floor. What has the internet connection to do with the popcorn? No, so I have to use them properly, correctly. Maybe I can say, okay, the floor is slipping because, or it's slippery because I spilled the popcorn or the oily popcorn on the floor. Okay, so when you use the subordinating conjunction, you have to use it correctly, or to make the relation between the two clauses in a correct way. So this, again, I repeat, these are not the only examples of subordinating conjunctions, but they are the mostly used subordinating conjunctions. With the punctuation, punctuating with dependent clauses and subordinating conjunctions. Again, I repeat, when a dependent clause that begins with a subordinating conjunction falls at the beginning of the sentence. يعني in other words, I say when I start with the dependent clause, I put a comma after the dependent clause. It acts as an introductory clause. When it falls at the end, no comma is needed. Let's take these examples. Because I didn't study, comma, I didn't pass the exam. Is the comma here correct? Yes, it's correct. Why? Look, I started with because is a subordinating conjunction, and the subordinating conjunction is included in the dependent clause because I didn't study. So I started with the dependent clause. And what does the rule say? When I start with the dependent clause, I have to add a comma after the dependent clause, then I continue with the independent clause. Because I didn't study, comma, didn't pass the exam. The second example, I switched them. I didn't pass the exam because I didn't study. I didn't pass the exam here is the independent. And the dependent clause starts from the subordinating conjunction to the end of the clause because I didn't study. So I started with the independent. Okay, did I add anything here? No comma is needed. I didn't add any comma here. Okay, so when we start with the dependent clause, we add a comma after the dependent clause. But when we start with the independent clause, we do not add a comma in the middle. So now, guys, we finished from the grammar part, which is the complex sentences. Okay, for sure. A worksheet, the book pages, I made them as a worksheet. They are uploaded on the application, okay, which you have to solve. Then later, you will receive the solution for it. And also during the live session, as we usually do, you can ask me and we're going to solve the questions together. Now we have to start with the phonics. The second part in the video is phonics. Okay, it is about the consonant plus LE syllables. When I have consonant, then LE after it in the syllable. Okay, so our phonics lesson is about consonant plus LE syllables. So we at the end you're going to be able to identify words with consonant plus LE syllables, read words with consonant plus LE syllables correctly. So what is the consonant plus LE syllables? We have to get introduced to consonant plus LE syllables. The consonant plus LE syllable is a syllable where you have a consonant with an LE following it. So when the word has a consonant and it's followed by LE, okay, but sometimes there are exceptions. It's not followed by LE, it's followed like by AL, okay? Sometimes I have exceptions, AL. The consonant plus LE syllable is a syllable where you have a consonant with an LE following it, or AL. There is a schwa sound that happens in these syllables right before the letter L. So you will hear the vowel sound making a schwa sound of L. For example, include the bill. Sorry, for examples, the examples include, and includable is an example on the sound, the schwa sound. Able, table, okay, cattle, cattle. You see the schwa sound at the end, or sorry, you hear it, the schwa sound at the end, the L, okay, this makes the LE syllable. Important points you have to know about this syllable type. There are certain important points that you have to know. Consonant plus LE will always occur at the end of the word. So this type of syllable is found at the end of the word only, at the end of the word. Examples, they include like BLE, CLE, DLE. At the end, we mean at the end of the words, we have BLE, CLE, DLE, FLE, GLE, KLE, PLE, SLE, ZLE, TLE, or sometimes you find two letters AL at the end only, like gentle here, for example. But the T is silent like castle. Sometimes I have a silent T, for example, here like castle. It usually has three letters, and the last two letters of the three are LE. Usually, you see, we do not say always usually, because sometimes I don't have LE, I have AL. The final E is silent. If you have E at the end, the E is silent. The letter before the LE will let you know what sound to make. Okay? Apple, for example. Table. Okay? Why do we need the E? Why do we need the E if it's silent? Because every syllable has to have a vowel, and the E is fulfilling its role in that purpose. It's the only syllable type when neither of the first two letters are vowels and you have a silent E after it. You can hear the vowel in all the other syllable types. Okay, these are just extra information that you have to know about this syllable type. Now we move to our words, to these words. These words are of our lesson. Okay, these words are of our lesson. So these are the 20 words included in our lesson. I'm going to read them for you, and notice the schwa sound at the end of each word. Okay, and through reading, I'm going to notice the ending of each word. The first one, stable, bell, stable. It ends with B-L-E, stable. Saddle, saddle, dull, schwa sound, saddle. And it ends with D-L-E, saddle. So I have stable, saddle. Table, table, bell, B-L-E, table. Noble, noble, B-L-E, noble. Cattle, cattle, cattle. Okay, so you see, cattle, T-L-E. If you not see in saddle and cattle, okay, I have the double consonants, and mostly you make mistakes while writing these words with double consonants. You might sometimes write it once, like for example, if there is a difference here, look here, stable, here saddle, here the A took the short sound because it's open. When if I divide the words into syllables, B-L-E, and stay, it's open, but here saddle, so here the A is a short vowel sound, so it should be closed with a consonant letter. So that's why we doubled the letter here, like saddle, cattle. Okay, it's not saddle or cattle, it's saddle, cattle. Okay, so that's why I cannot write S-A-D-L-E, because the last syllable D-L-E, it's alone. So I say sa, no, it's wrong. Sorry, say, it's wrong. Sa, it's closed. So that's why I have to double the consonant. Saddle, stable, saddle, table, noble. No, you notice? No, here there is no double letter, so it makes long sound O. Cattle, stumble, stumble. You see? B-L-E, stumble. Terrible, 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 B-L-E. Beetle, beetle, T-L-E. Cattle, cattle, T-L-E. Eagle, eagle, girl, G-L-E. Royal, you see here, royal. What do I have at the end? A-L, but it makes the same schwa sound, so it's included in this type of syllable, but I have A-L at the end. Cripple, cripple, P-L-E, cripple. Hospital, hospital, T-A-L, A-L at the end. I have hospital, T-A-L. Legal, legal, A-L. Label, label, E-L, E-L at the end. Vocal, I have A-L at the end here, but they all make the same schwa sound. Journal, A-L. Medal, A-L. Several, A-L. Sample, P-L-E. Again, I read the words stable, saddle, table, noble, cattle, stumble, terrible, beetle, cattle, eagle, royal, cripple, hospital, legal, label, vocal, journal, medal, several, sample. each word. Okay, we have some pictures, and through pictures we're going to try to label each word with the correct word. Okay, you see, I use also the word label. So what do you see here? It's like there are different insects, yeah, but all these insects we call them beetle. Okay, you see the insect, these types of insects we call them beetles or beetle. It's if it's one alone we say it's beetle. What do I have here? A group. You see, you notice the word a group of cows, okay, that gaze in the field together. So when the group of animals like cows, sheep, goats, they are out together or they are all together, we say it is a cattle. There is a cattle of cows, a cattle of sheep, a sheep, for example, okay, sheep, cattle of sheep. If you not see what I have, like it's a notebook, it has dates, okay, and we can write information, our maybe personal information, okay, or appointments or something that reminds us. We call it a journal. What we should daily do, okay, journal. What do I have here? Okay, it's a group of pots and pans that we use them in kitchen. We call them cattle. All of this together, all of this we call them cattle. Cattle. This is cattle. This is kettle. Okay, pay attention. Okay, for example, here I have a fish and I say you have to write the names of the parts. So you have to label. What do you see? I think that it's very easy for you to know what is this because you take it in the contests. For example, when you win the first, second, or third place, it's called a medal. Okay, and here, what do we have here? It's a bird. Yes, it's a type of bird, and we call it eagle. What do we call it? Eagle. This is the eagle. What is this? Look, I want you to look at the what is on the back of the horse, where the knight sits or those who ride horses sit on. We call it a saddle. And if you notice, it's not straight. It's not straight. Okay, so this is a saddle. Okay, this is what a group of children singing together. When we have a group of kids or children or people sing together, what do we call them? A vocal group, vocal. Okay, here is the place where we keep the horses. What do we call it? Stable. Okay, what do we call it? Stable. Okay, what's happening to this man? He's tripping over, I think it's a stone. So what happened to him? He stumbled. Stumble is to trip and fell down. Okay, stumble. We haven't finished yet. We still have some words. Terrible. What do we mean by terrible? When we say terrible, we mean very bad. Very bad. Okay. Royal. Royal, when everything is related to kings and the queens, like parties maybe or meetings, we call them royal. Legal. When we say something is legal, something is approved by law, that the law say yes, you can do it. Several means many. Noble that has high level in society. Cripple is to disable, to become disabled, okay, to cripple or to make something disabled. Sample is an example or a model. Example or model, okay? Sample, when you say give me a sample, give me an example or a model. So now we finished from explaining the phonics part and the grammar part. We're going to have just one exercise for the phonics and one exercise for the grammar to help you start with your worksheet, okay? So fill in the missing letters to form a spelling word, then write the spelling word on the line, okay? I'm just going to fill in the missing letters. No, remember that we're filling with the last syllable, which is maybe BLE, a consonant with LE, or AL only, or EL. Okay? I start with number one. It's cat, cat. If you go back to the words of if, or if you remember, okay, I have the word cattle, cattle. So continue. Remember how it's cattle is written, or pronounce it cat. Tull. So the last syllable says tull. So it is what? TLE. Number two, cripple. cripple. Yes, it's a cripple. So what should I do here? And I have to add three letters. Only LE? No, for sure. And I must directly know that I should double the consonant because I have, first of all, I have short I have consonant P after it, and it's even the P is doubled. Cripple. PLE. Three, noble. Yes, for sure. It's noble. Yes, noble. What should I add? B-E-L? Huh? No, it's not B-E-L. It's B-L-E. Royal. Royal. I have just two letters at the end. Royal. Yeah, yeah. So it is A-L. Excellent. Eagle. Yes, it's eagle. Eagle. Girl. So it's girl, G-E-L. No, for sure. We said when I have the three letters, the E is at the end and it's silent. Eagle, G-L-E. Number six, journal. Yes, it's right. Journal. Journal. Null. Null, N-A-L. Excellent. N-A-L. Now, number seven, what is it? Table, table. What should I add? B-L-E. Yes. Number eight, beetle, beetle. Yes, that's right, beetle. Okay, what should I add? T-L-E. Saddle. Yes, saddle, saddle, D-L-E. Medal, medal. You see, medal, A-L, medal. Stable, yes, it's where we keep the horses. Stable, stable, B-L-E. 12, legal, legal, G-A-L, legal. 13, terrible, terrible. Yes, it's terrible. B-L-E. Number 14, vocal, vocal, V-O-C-A-L. It's missing C-A-L. And number 15, label, B-E-L. Okay. So now I helped you with exercise A. The else you have to do them by yourselves. And B is very easy. Just you have to order the words in reverse alphabetical order, which means you have to start from the Z to A. Okay? So you can solve it by yourself. Now we move to the exercise. This is the first exercise in the worksheet and it's in the book, page 16. I'm going to help you solve it just to remind you how to differentiate between the compound sentences and the complex sentences. Again, I say the complex sentence is when I have a dependent and independent clause joined together with a subordinating conjunction. But do you remember what is the compound sentence? The compound sentence is when I have two simple sentences joined with a coordinating conjunction. What is the coordinating conjunction? Coordinating conjunction is one of the fanboys. F for, A for and, N for nor, B for but, O for or, Y for yet, and S for so. But you mostly use and, or, so, and but. Okay? Number one, my dad looks great when he wears a suit. We have to underline the conjunction first. Where is the conjunction? Where is the word that is linking the two parts together? That's what we mean by the conjunction. Where is the word that is linking the two parts of the sentences together? When, in the first sentence, it is when. Yes, when is conjoining the two sentences. But when is considered what? Coordinating or subordinating? Subordinating for sure, because it makes a complex sentence at the end. Number two, I gave him a tie and he wears it all the time. What is the word that is combining the two parts of the sentences? What is it? What is it? And. And is the word that is combining the two sentences together. And is considered what? It's one of the fanboys. Excellent. It's one of the fanboys. So when it's one of the fanboys, what do we call it? Coordinating conjunction. It is coordinating. Three, it's his favorite book because, sorry, it's his favorite because it reminds him of home. What is the word joining the two sentences together? Where is it? Where? Because. Excellent. Because here joins the two sentences together or the two clauses together. And because is what? Is it one of the fanboys? No, it's not coordinating conjunction. What is it? It's subordinating conjunction. So now I think that I put you on the track at the beginning of the track. You can solve the others by yourself. Later, we're going to solve extra exercises, also more exercises in the live session. After the live session, you solve the exercises again by yourself. Then you can watch the video solution later to check your answers. I hope that everything is clear in this video, guys. I just can't wait to see you during my live session. Till that time, stay safe and prepare yourselves well. Bye bye.